Right now, on to the point. Developing news, California voters could be heading to the polls this November. The special election on redistricting Governor Newsom is considering and how much it could cost. Plus, getting tough on sex trafficking.
Governor Gavin Newsom just signed a bill to toughen anti-sex trafficking laws here in the state. Here are the governor's comments and how this will impact local law enforcement.
If you didn't have your seatbelt on, everyone that didn't have, they hit the ceiling.
A spotlight on safety, concerns after another frightening incident in the sky. And in our Champions of Hope,
it was one of those things where something needed to be done, and she knew what it was.
A student at the right place at the right time becomes a hero. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Developing tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom says he wants to fight fire with fire and redraw California's congressional districts, and he wants to do it through a special election later this year. He talked about his plans at a news conference just hours ago. His proposal includes holding a special election in early November. He wants to redraw the maps to make districts more favorable to Democrats with the goal of gaining more seats in Congress. And this comes in response to President Trump's push for redistricting in red states. Trump has said he wants Republicans to pick up 5 new seats in Texas and others elsewhere to maintain GOP control of the House in the midterms. Now, yesterday, Texas Republicans proposed new district maps. Today, Governor Newsom had this to say.
They're doing a midterm rejection of objectivity and independence, a act that we could criticize from the sideline or an act that we can respond to in kind, fight fire with fire.
The governor says proposed redistricting maps are not yet available, that he has not seen any, and that he will have more information to share in the next week or two. He says he wants this to be a transparent process, ultimately decided by California voters. And holding a special election in California could cost more than $200 million. The 2021 governor recall election, according to the Secretary of State's office, cost just over $200 million. The money came from counties and the state. Now, tonight, according to an analysis from Republican State Assembly member Carl DeMaio's office, that number with inflation and increase in registered voters could put the cost of a special election in 2025 around $250 million. We reached out to the governor's office for comment on whether any costs about a special election have been discussed and who would foot the bill if a special election is held, and we have not yet heard back. Well, it was a bill causing a lot of controversy on the Assembly floor this year, and now Governor Newsom has signed it into law. Starting January 1st, buying a 15, 16, or 17-year-old for sex will be considered a felony. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us in studio after talking with the governor and the bill's original author.
Well, Becca, Democratic Assembly member Maggie Krell initially introduced this bill, but it came with a lot of criticisms from her Democratic colleagues and support from Republicans. Now, through the process, Krell was removed as the primary author, but tonight she tells me it was never about recognition. She just wanted safeguards in place for sex trafficking victims.
A grown man who buys a 16 or 17-year-old for commercial sex, that will now be able to be charged as a felony.
Following a heated debate over Assembly Bill 379, Governor Gavin Newsom officially made it law. The bill aims to protect victims of sex trafficking, specifically those 3 years under the age of 18, by closing a loophole that previously made it a misdemeanor to traffic 16 to 17-year-olds. Advocacy groups had pushed back on the change.
There were a lot of youth advocates and activists who were concerned about the way that automatic felonies levied against older teens in relationships with other minors.
Democratic Assembly member Maggie Krell first introduced the bill, but was removed as the primary author in a dramatic moment on the Assembly floor and replaced with Democratic Assembly members Stephanie Nguyen and Nick Schultz. Still, Krell says she's proud of this bill and is grateful the governor signed it.
If men are willing to go out there and be part of that and buy them and use their own disposable income for their pleasure and not pay any regard to what these girls are going through, they should be prosecuted as felons.
During a press conference at McClellan, Governor Gavin Newsom reiterated his support for this legislation.
I was very grateful the legislature took the leadership, made some amendments, worked across party lines to get that bill on my desk, and I was honored to sign it.
Sacramento County Sheriff Jim Cooper has been a vocal supporter of the bill since its start and says, in part, this is a major step forward for public safety and protecting our children. The sheriff's office has conducted multiple operations to address sex trafficking and says this new law will help with their enforcement.
The biggest thing is now are the penalties that go along with it. This won't simply be a misdemeanor where they get a ticket and go off on their way.
The law will take effect on January 1st. It would also require those convicted to complete a program on human trafficking and make it a misdemeanor for anyone to loiter in any public space with the intent to buy commercial sex.
An additional fine of $1,000 could also be required to anyone convicted, and that money would go towards the Survivor Support Fund. Becca?
Jeannie, thank you very much. Well, roughly 4 in 10 Californians carry medical debt. That's according to the California Healthcare Foundation. Right now, there's a bill moving through the state legislature that could offer some financial relief for patients. The assembly bill would require hospitals to check whether patients are eligible for charity care or discounted payments before sending them a bill. The California Hospital Association continues to oppose the bill, however. A spokesperson for the organization says hospitals already promote their financial assistance programs. The bill recently went through a round of amendments after negotiations with the hospital lobby. The legislation has to pass the state Senate by September 12th. Well, California's large firefighting fleet just got bigger. Today, Governor Newsom, along with CAL FIRE, announced the addition of the final 2 of 16 Firehawk helicopters. They arrived at Sacramento's McClellan Airfield. The governor says this couldn't come at a better time after last week's dangerous lightning strikes in the Sierra.
And so this is the time where we are particularly focused and energized, and we are now more committed to pre-positioning, protecting, and continuing to prevent, to the extent possible, the impacts of Mother Nature.
The state now has the largest civilian helicopter firefighting fleet in the world, according to the governor. Well, wildfire season is year-round in California. ABC 10 created a special to prepare. We talked to survivors, hear from the Red Cross on what to pack in case of an evacuation, and learn how firefighters are training in more populated areas. Download the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app to watch California wildfires preparing for peak danger. Well, it was a traffic nightmare for thousands of commuters near Lathrop this morning. A shooting involving a CHP officer closed southbound I-5 for nearly 10 hours. This started just before 11 last night. CHP responded to I-5 just north of State Route 120. Officers say they were called to a crash and gunshots were fired. When they got to the scene, they saw a man with a gun. That's when they say a shooting involving those CHP officers occurred. The man was taken to a hospital where he later died. We talked to someone who heard the gunshots.
Shortly thereafter, I heard what sounded like a machine gun. There was very rapid shots, but I understand there was a gunfight up there. So it could have been one or more people shooting at the same time to give the effect of a machine gun.
The San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office says no officers or bystanders were hurt. I-5 reopened just after 10 this morning. Coming up on To The Point, a new wave of tariffs from former President from Trump, copper, coffee, even lumber, how his trade moves could mean higher prices for American families. Plus, new data about who is getting vaccinated, what this means for children and for your community.
Can you believe it? Tomorrow's the first day of August, and you know what? We're back to where we should be, in those low to mid 90s. We will warm up next.
But first, in other headlines tonight, a pilot is safe after an F-35C fighter jet crashed in a cotton field in Fresno County Wednesday night. It happened just north of Lemoore Naval Air Station. The pilot was able to eject and is expected to be okay. All but 250 National Guard troops are now leaving Los Angeles. The Pentagon ended the deployment of more than 1,300 troops that were sent to deal with protests over the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Flooded streets and stranded cars. New York City and New Jersey are under a state of emergency tonight because of severe flooding and heavy rain. In New York, multiple cars were trapped on a flooded highway, and this aerial video shows flooded streets near Baltimore as well. The heavy rain is expected to continue into the evening.
ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef joins us now with a look at this final day of what has been a truly beautiful July. Brendan?
Yeah, it's been unlike any July since 2001 here in Sacramento. And we ended it exactly where we'd expect to be, in the mid-90s. Made it to 94 today in Sacramento, so green goes on the box. But, I mean, looking back at this month, 20 days were below normal. We've had 4 days right at average and just 7 days above normal. And I will point out as well, just 1 day in the triple digits. That was back on July 11th, made it to 102 degrees. But yeah, coolest July since 2001. But now it's time to turn the page. August begins tomorrow, and it looks to start off fairly seasonal, but it is going to warm up by the end of next week. Looking at radar and satellite right now, not much to see in our region, but in the far northern part of the state, there's quite a bit of activity. A lot of lightning has been observed this afternoon. We even have a severe thunderstorm warning up in the far north near Shasta. We've got some special weather statements as well for some of these stronger thunderstorms. And again, there's just been a lot of lightning, and that always presents a fire risk with it. 93 right now here in Sacramento, 95 in Stockton, 94 Modesto, 94 in Roseville, 89 Jackson, 79 in Truckee, and 74 in South Lake Tahoe. Looking at the Tower Bridge, 93 degrees. This is 8 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, though. So that goes to show you, when we have those 80s in the afternoon versus when we have the 90s in the afternoon, our evenings are significantly warmer. We'll be in the 70s by 9 o'clock, right at 70 by 11 o'clock, falling through the 60s through the overnight, starting off cool tomorrow, just below normal, 59 in Sacramento. Friday morning, about 62 Stockton, 63 in Modesto, in mid-60s in the foothills. Seasonal on Friday afternoon, in these low to mid 90s. Parts of the valley going to see some upper 90s though. 99 Colusa, 97 in Oroville and Marysville, but 93 Sacramento, 94 Stockton, 96 in Modesto. Again, these temperatures where we'd expect to be for the start of August. But high pressure is building in as we head through next week. And as we look even further out, 8 to 14 days, it's looking like we'll be above normal. So over the next 10 days, you'll notice a warming trend. The coolest days likely Sunday, Monday, right near 90 degrees, but then we're in the upper 90s by the end of next week. Becca.
Brendan, thank you so much. Well, still ahead on To The Point, terrifying turbulence for passengers on a Delta flight and new questions in the deadly D.C. mid-air collision, why investigators say tragedy may have been avoidable. And later, in our Champions of Hope, a student is in the spotlight tonight, honored for her quick reaction in a medical emergency. New tonight, President Donald Trump signed an executive order that has tariffs against dozens of trading partners going into effect in 7 days instead of tomorrow. Reporter Maribel Gonzalez now with a breakdown of what goods could be affected.
Is there any wiggle room on steel and aluminum in exchange for any budge on digital?
Not a lot, because if I do it for one, I have to do it for all.
President Donald Trump signed multiple executive actions this week, imposing a 50% tariff on Brazil, a 50% tariff on certain copper products, and said India would have to pay a 25% reciprocal tariff and possibly a penalty at the start of August. So what do these changes mean for Americans?
We'll see prices start to creep up.
The move signals an escalation of the Trump administration's trade war, impacting products that are crucial components in a variety of goods like copper, which is used in electronics, machinery, and cars. Also,
Coffee is a good example. It's something that's not grown in the United States.
While these trade talks have produced some wins for the U.S., like some overseas trading partners pledging increased investments, other countries like Canada are not playing ball. If tariffs on Canadian imports like lumber remain in place, a report from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce estimates the average cost of building a home in the U.S. could increase by an additional $14,000 by the end of 2027. And yet, all these tariffs could be changed once again inside a courtroom.
The authority for them is based on the president's emergency powers, and there's a court case pending on that, and the federal circuit could decide that he doesn't have those powers, in which case he's not allowed to levy these tariffs.
New data tonight on childhood vaccination rates. According to the Centers for Disease Control, U.S. kindergarten vaccination rates inched down again last year. The new data also show the proportion of children with exemptions rose to an all-time high. It is the third year in a row the exemption rate broke records. The vast majority of exemptions are for non-medical reasons. Public health officials focus on vaccination rates for kindergartners because schools can be launching pads for community outbreaks. Well, severe turbulence forced an emergency landing. A Delta flight going from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam landed safely at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. People had to go to the hospital. It comes as hearings are underway over the deadly mid-air crash in Washington, D.C. earlier this year.
Just as dinner service began on Delta Flight 56 from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam,
we hit the craziest turbulence I've ever seen in my life.
Another passenger on the plane says people who didn't have their seatbelts on were most at risk.
Everyone that didn't they hit the ceiling and then they fell to the ground. And the carts also hit the ceiling and fell to the ground, and people were injured.
The plane made an emergency landing in Minneapolis. 25 people on board were taken to local hospitals, and the airline says the majority have been released. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the incident. Meanwhile, in the nation's capital, the NTSB continued questioning witnesses regarding January's deadly mid-air collision in D.C. between an American Airlines regional jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter.
Our objective today is to thoroughly understand crew dynamics and air traffic control and operations.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Hamady growing frustrated with some of the answers given by representatives of the FAA and Army after 10 hours of testimony Wednesday. The hearing's revelations included that Army helicopters would regularly fly below aircraft that were descending to land at Reagan National Airport.
Why did it take 67 lives to be lost and families who are just destroyed forever to understand what was occurring?
A determination of what caused the crash is expected to come in January. Well, next on To the Point, a local teen steps out of class and into action and is now being recognized for saving a life.
Wednesday on To the Point. The city of Elk Grove is growing, but at what cost?
Traffic, yeah, that's horrible. You can't get used to that. And it's getting worse.
With new housing,
you're going to see smaller lots and everything being built close together.
Schools.
We have 60 more to build where we physically know where they're going to go.
And more development coming in.
We're essentially creating our own version of what a downtown urban space would look like.
What's being done about concerns in a community that's changed so fast? Don't miss this To the Point special on Elk Grove's growth, Wednesday at 6:30, only on ABC 10.
Tonight in our Champions of Hope, we introduce you to a quick-thinking student who jumped right into action during a moment of crisis.
16-year-old Bennett Dixon had just stepped out of her sports medicine class at Western Sierra Collegiate Academy in Rockland when she noticed a group of students in the hallway.
Right after I'd walked by, I heard someone yell out, "He's choking, he's choking."
Dixon's mother, Bethany Cates, a teacher at the school, attempted to perform the Heimlich, but
I didn't push hard enough. I also had my hand in the wrong position.
That's when Bennett stepped in to help.
I told him not to move, and it worked first try, and it was very surprising, I gotta say. And then after that, I made sure the kid was okay, and I went to math class.
After she had dislodged whatever it was, his color came back immediately, and she tapped him on the shoulder and was like, "Thumbs up?"
Incredibly, Bennett had just learned the technique.
Not even an hour before, my sports medicine teacher, Dr. Navarro, had demonstrated how to do the Heimlich. I remembered the exact chapter from my sports medicine textbook that taught us how to do it. And in the moment, I'm like, okay, I better do this before this kid drops to the ground because I can't do that next step.
I was so proud. Bennett has a great heart for others, and it was one of those things where something needed to be done, and she knew what it was.
Bennett didn't just pass her math test.
I actually got a perfect score.
But later got another surprise.
One of the teachers I knew asked me for help doing something, and then I was suddenly in the middle of the gym, and there were people. There were a lot of people there. They had this awesome speech, which was cool, and then I had 2 awards, and it was awesome and nerve-wracking.
I was there. I cried. She's wonderful. I'm so grateful for Superintendent Stout and just the administration for taking the time to do that.
Despite the praise, Bennett remains humble, something Mom couldn't be more proud of.
I think that one of the things we try to do is impact the world with excellence, and it's not just a statement. It's really when you're looking for opportunities where you can do good things, you step in and do the good thing. So I think that she really exemplified that, and I'm so proud of her.
Way to go, Bennett, for jumping into action. Well, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. To the Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.